I feel like I read the questions. I feel like I'm going for the psych evaluation here a bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, but
Yeah.
old man, like these are just things to think about. And every interview is so different, you know. There's no one.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, I ask the same questions, obviously, so it tends to be all kind of the same. But yeah, all good. But
Okay, dude.
now, so yes,
Ow. Ouch.
the cat back up, man. We need more views. We need more views on this.
Yeah, my thumbnail. Sorry, he just bit me. Ow. All right. Give me a second. He'll come back in a minute. I got some food. So what do you got?
Animals, and they have food, you know.
It's all cool. I'm the same too. You don't have food, I'll bite you too. So yeah.
It's like, yeah, you want to come over? I got cake. All right, I'll stop by. But man, I want to ask you, just to start off, how are things going so far in isolation, or this quarantine time? How you been?
I'd say doing okay, I guess. Trying to think anything out of the ordinary more than for anyone else. I don't know. It's been nice to have a lot of time to think about stuff. I have to say I really appreciate having time at home with the family, you know, the wife and the cats. It's nice to kind of put life on pause for a bit, you know, get away from that daily hectic. I feel like for a while sometimes you're working so much. Like for example, I was in January. I was in Iowa. I was volunteering for the Bernie Sanders campaign, so we were doing this like full time, just like nonstop. And then I come back to Germany and it's immediately jump back in the workshop and go, and then suddenly stop. Everyone's at home, right? And for the first time in a long time, I have time to sit at home and just enjoy the time. And at first you think you're going to go crazy, you know, like, oh my God, if I don't keep busy, what's going to happen, right? Like, oh my God, no. And actually you find, I don't know, I find I had the opposite. I feel like, oh, interesting, can really sit and think about things. Okay, you know, for the year plan of the next 5 years, you know, if this virus thing works its way out, nobody knows what the future holds, you know. So it's, on the other hand, it's a bit hard to make plans for things right now. I write for the musicians, you guys especially, right? It's my concert next month, 2 months, 3 months, I don't know, you know. I don't know for you, but you know, like how do you guys even plan anything? You just say yes and just hope that it works out, or how is that?
Oh man, that's such a funny question. I mean, that's what I was doing before.
And now it's progressed to something else, right? Okay.
I enjoy being home, but it's
same.
I mean, it's got its ups and downs for sure. I mean, like you talk about, just, you know, I think, you know, really and truly, you know, there's, you know, I thought for a minute, man, I'm going to be isolated. I don't know what's going to happen with the, you know,
right.
And now it's like, yeah, I can't really complain too much. You know, there's some things that could be better. There's some things that could be worse, but I noticed, like, I looked at everything going on. I looked at I looked at the financial statements. I looked at everything else, you know, with everything going on. I realized I'm actually going to be okay. And if I need to, I'll, you know, I can make a plan. When I cross that bridge, but because that's what I was always doing anyway. But yeah, I'm wondering how that kind of differs for you. I mean, I know I feel like the thing you get afforded with as an instrument maker, repairer, you know, running a repair shop, an instrument, you know, shop as well. You're kind of given this, you know, you're working in isolation all the time, a lot of the time anyway, I can imagine.
Exactly. Right. I mean, you have of course, your normal foot traffic, you know, the workshop is literally on the street. So you always have people stopping in, but with that kind of gone, honestly, it's not a huge change. I have to say that one very strange thing was when we first started going back to work, though, getting on the S-Bahn. So for those watching, like the Berlin public transport or the U-Bahn, wearing a mask when you get on the train. And, you know, you're thinking to yourself, hey, this doesn't feel safe. Like, because in a brass workshop, we also wear a mask, you know, when we're doing any kind of like dangerous work, like any kind of polishing, working with dangerous chemicals, you also wear a face mask, right? So you have this thing in your head like, okay, or in a hospital, right? And I'm taking the public transport and I'm wearing a mask. Every time I walk into a business, I'm wearing a mask. So you think maybe it's not such a safe thing to do. So I thought to myself, okay, been thinking about it for a good 10 years now. Um, you know what? I'm going to buy a new bicycle. All right, fine, you know, and I want to go fast. So I got myself something really fast. And I have to say, it's nice. It's actually as fast as, if not faster than the train. I get a good workout, you know, and I have to say I definitely prefer that to the public transport. So what the nice thing was, the first week or two was you could ride your bike. So for those who don't know, I'm in Schöneberg right now. My workshop's in Pankow, so kind of from south to north. You basically have to ride through the entire city. You basically ride through all the iconic spaces. You have to go by the Brandenburger Tor, the gate. You go down Unter den Linden. You go by Alex. So this is basically I have the tourist route for going to work.
Right.
And for the first week, it was completely empty. Absolutely no one there. And it was a bit surreal, man. You feel like, wow, you're in like some Hollywood movie or something. They cleared set, or there's a zombie apocalypse, or there's a virus closing the city down. It's very strange, and to almost see nobody there as well. It was a bit odd. But on the other hand, the air, I have never. It's the first time in Berlin where you're walking around or riding a bike, and you're like, this is like being outside of the city. This is like, wow, amazing. The air is suddenly nice.
Sure.
You know, you should. They have a saying, Berliner Luft. You know, they're not joking. Berlin has some of the worst air quality in Germany, I think, of any place. Yeah. So, but yeah. So the bike's been really great. I really enjoyed that. In terms of the workshop, how things are different. I mean, a lot of the projects that go on in the workshop are very long-term ones as well, ones that take months or years even. And in a sense, actually, it's been kind of nice. I had a chance to finally catch up on a lot of those and get at those. And I think for now, things are fine. It's okay. Honestly, it's not such a huge difference in things, but you know, again, if you day to day things are fine. But if you're thinking like long term, how this is going to play out, you know, it's I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you feel like, okay, fine. The governments in the world, we talked about this earlier. They want people to go back to work. They want money to start flowing, basically. You know, get things back to normal. And I don't know how this is going to work out. So you have to wonder in the future how things are gonna play out with this. So, but I feel really bad though for all you guys, for all the musicians out there. Like really, for all you like. You know, had gigs canceled, people will have their tours canceled and stuff. I'm really sorry about that. And some people can make the change to online quite well, but for a lot of groups, man, if you don't hear it live acoustically, it's a shame. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to risk your audience, you know, that you can't do that either. So it's a bit of a rock and a hard place for a lot of guys. So just if any of them are watching, shout out to those guys. I'm really sorry for you. So I hope that clears up at some point. So. Yeah, there was a band that was supposed to come here to Germany this month, and I've always had to like go to another country to hear them. I can never hear them in Germany. They came one time, I think, to Stuttgart like 3 or 4 years ago, and oh man, just couldn't quite. It was actually cheaper to go to London to hear them, and they were coming to Berlin. They were so coming to Berlin. I was so sad I didn't get to hear them live here. So that's the shame.
What band, man? I'm curious.
Yeah, no problem. It's called Moonhooch. I think they're based out of New York.
That's the best.
It's a great name. It's 2 saxophone players and a drummer, and those guys are fantastic. Yeah, so I've always been a big fan. Like always liked them. It's a bit like a genre like brass house or like it's like acoustic techno. I don't know how to describe it. They have their own sound. I think according to them, everyone has their own name for it. They call it cave music. So okay, fine, cave music, whatever, you know. I like it, and yeah, it's a great time. But it's such a shame. Like I think the Berliners were really excited that they finally came here. I think it has a pretty dedicated fan club here. So, yeah, it was supposed to be 18th of May. So, but hopefully they'll come back at some point though. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it seems like that's happening. Like a lot of the shows that were planned are being postponed, and I'm actually quite surprised. It seems like a lot of the promoters and the people who are organizing these things, they're pretty loyal to the artists they booked. And they're actually like they're willing to follow through with it because they realize that's what it seems like, at least. It seems like they're actually willing to follow through with that commitment. It's just a matter, because no one could have predicted this thing. And
Of course, yeah.
but at the same time, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I feel like it's actually interesting. At this point, I've interviewed probably about 30 musicians and people working in our industry, and every single one of them has a story about something getting canceled, something. Da, 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 da. And at this point, I'm just like, dude, why are you like? I almost want to tell them like, stop crying, like, move on.
Mm.
I think I can understand the mourning process. It takes time and all of this, and when you put a lot of energy into your plans, I know I had major plans for myself too this year. I wanted to record an album and promote it and use the bulk of this year to do that
Right.
kind of work. And week before that happened, it kind of all got canned. And I feel like, it's also kind of discouraged me from, these last 2 months from actually going forth and putting the time back into writing and, focusing on my tunes and really trying to do
Hmm.
that stuff. But, so I get it, but I feel like this is a time, like you mentioned, to kind of do new stuff. Um,
Or at least to think about what you're doing, like where am I? What am I doing with myself? You suddenly have, how do you say, isolation? You're basically in purgatory, or you're in lockdown, solitary. So you have time to think. So what do you want to do? When this is over, like, do you go back to how it was? Do you do something different? Kind of everyone's got a bit of a choice there. But just to say, for people getting their stuff canceled, I just want to say I feel like, especially here in Berlin, it's for no one. It's not great for anyone, but I think for us here, you at least. I mean, it's not perfect anywhere, but you feel like there's been at least some sort of effort to financially from the state to reach out to help the people here.
but yeah,
Not a, it could be done in different ways. There's a lot of disagreement about this, but that effort was made in a sense. And I can't imagine in certain parts of the U.S. like musicians having their stuff canceled. Ooh, man, like,
man,
wow. Yeah, I don't think that Trump check's going to cut it for a lot of folks, man. Once you have rent and those things and all that stuff. So yeah, and the whole infrastructure, right? If you're on tour, for example, like that whole like daily concert thing to not be able to do that anymore. So that's what I meant. For some people, they can make a transition to YouTube or other platforms for stuff. But I think for a lot of people, that's pretty honestly pretty scary. That's more of a existential kind of like a survival question
hmm
than a free time one. So I imagine for some people, like maybe in a different place, it's honestly a really scary time. And I think we have kind of a luxury here to like sit back and be like, yeah, I don't know. It feels a bit like Groundhog's Day, like a bit of self improvement.
yeah,
Like for example, when this is over, you are gonna be the world's most shredded trombone player in the world. Like there won't be anyone even close to you, man. Like wow,
man. I only practice about an hour and a half a day. Like, I'm not.
that's enough. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, but I think too, it's yeah. But I do agree. I think being in Berlin and being in Germany has its extreme advantages for sure. Finances have been something that I haven't had to worry too much about. And I'm grateful for that. It's more of, yeah, it's more of the emotional side of it.
Of course.
So, the transition to moving online was not too difficult. I think there's a different role a teacher plays too, I think, in this day and age.
Right.
And I think too, I think it's an opportunity as well. I've thought a lot about this. I feel like you're interviewing me this time around. I feel like I'm actually the first time.
Oh, good, man. Oh, good. Yeah.
But nonetheless, actually, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna twist this
Okay.
a bit.
Move on. Right. Okay.
Change it, but just twist it a bit.
Okay, man.
But yeah, I mean, this is a topic I bring up with everybody. But like the idea that all your gigs got canceled, and all of a sudden, I feel like as a musician, what we do is we tend to associate our self-worth with our busyness and our ability
Ah.
that just like, oh yeah,
That goes for a lot of fields, man. That's not just musicians. I know we really feel it very keenly, but I think for every field,
oh,
um,
big time.
yeah, yeah.
And the minute you pull that away, it's like that question of who are you comes out. And I mean, I'm seeing it very interestingly because I'm seeing, I think it's, you talk about transitioning to online. I mean, I don't think it's just that. I think it's also just, when you really got to look at yourself, this is a time to really look at yourself. And, I think it's always a weird thing. For me personally, I find, who I am is this weird, awkward combination of a few different factors. Two of the major ones being what other people, it's not necessarily what other people perceive me as, and it's not necessarily what I think of myself as, but it's somewhere in that weird little middle that like is where the truth is.
Mm.
Um, and that's, for some people, it's a hard reality to face. Wondering if you could speak to that a bit.
Um, Phew. Wow.
It's getting kind of deep.
No, no, I understand. So the question is, for example, just theoretically, let's just say abstractly. So there's a musician who's on tour. He's or she or however which pronoun they prefer. They are a touring musician. They're very well known, and internally that person, part of their self-worth is based on the reaction of their fans that they have. Now suddenly in isolation, that's gone. How does that make you feel though? Like, you mean like your self-interpretation of yourself? Like, how is that?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Boy, I don't know, man. I think that's for each person themselves to
exactly.
decide. Um, I don't know. Trying to think to myself how this would be. I think I was always someone like, of course, we always take feedback from other people seriously. When as you are as a person, you'll get a reflection of that from other people. You should kind of heed that, or at least acknowledge that in some ways. But um, I don't know. I was always someone like, okay, I want to do something, and I just go and do it. Sometimes not for better or for worse. And um, I'm trying to think. Hmm. It's yeah. I say one thing is a bit of a shame for a while because we couldn't let any customers in the workshop. When it first opened there. It's a bit of a shame to like talk to them. You give them the instrument, they look at the work, and they give you some feedback. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And try things. I don't know if it's like for self-worth or anything, but I feel like a bit of a sad, like, it's nice to sometimes, if a customer will have more time, they're like, this lead pipe on my trombone's working right, but maybe we had this other idea we can try. It's kind of a shame to not get that feedback at the moment. You finish something and then you do it to your best ability, of course, no matter what, and it goes out, and maybe it comes back for some other ideas or something, but you don't have a lot of that interaction. And of course you can do things with email and typing, but it's very nice when they're standing right next to you and they play and you can hear it, you know and you know exactly what they're talking about, or at least you think you do. And it's a shame not to be able to react to that in the shop. So I feel a bit bad about that sometimes, but um, I think that, yeah, I think that's, sorry, not a great answer to your question, sorry, but yeah,
I
um,
mean, but
yeah. I mean, dude, I'm a tuba player, I mean, I don't know how much self-worth we have, so it's,
oh man,
oh, there goes that podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, I'll start by. I'm going to speak to you. You said one thing I find. What you're talking about, that feedback. I thrive on that as well. I find more and more like I hate it when people just tell you, "Man, you sound good," or "Man,
Right.
like it's cool to get that like twice in a row, but then I'm getting that three times in a row. I'm just like from the same person and nothing else. I would just be like, "Yeah, okay, yeah."
Maybe they like it though. Maybe to them they honestly like it, and that's it. Sometimes you just have to take things at face value, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's
Mm.
the part. I mean, you always say thank you, and I think it's one of the rudest and weirdest things to do. At a certain point, age. I'm not even talking like musical development wise. I'm talking age wise. I think it's a little weird if to not accept a compliment at a certain point.
Mhm.
I, I think it's just the appropriate thing to just say thank you, even if you don't agree. But I think you know that feedback you're talking about, that real feedback of just like, we like to do this, or I like this when I like the music when it's like this. Therefore, it needs to, because that allows for growth. Sometimes that's like someone. I remember, yeah, you did a number on my king, my king trombone. You really looked into this thing to find like where this hole in the sound was, and you finally found it.
Okay, that was a very, just to be honest, the audience here, that was a very bizarre case, though. That was, just for the record, that was you'd had some kind of accident, and the bottom crook of your slide was bashed in. This is what we're talking about, right? This one, right? And
Like you
yeah,
and it still played out of tune, and I was like,
yeah, and but the thing is, from the outside, the crook looked fine. There was no reason to look in there. But there was just, the nice thing with the trombone is it's honestly a very simple instrument in comparison to, say, a French horn or a tuba. And okay, there's got to be something else wrong here. And then you start taking things apart, and you're like, oh wow. So when you take the cap off his crook, there, it was bashed in. There was a huge dent, but someone had just simply put a new cap over it, and that was it. And sent you on your way. And I thought, wow, I've never seen that before. That was a bit bizarre. So, we got lucky, I mean, you could see the telltale sign someone had been working there. So your obvious thought is, okay, if someone's been there, maybe something's not right. You know that this particular model is a very good instrument, so it should play better than it is. And the guy obviously can play the crap out of it, but he's right. Something's not right. He's complaining. So, okay, fine. Let's keep going till we find it, right? And um, yeah, I mean, we had lucky also. I think there was another new one that was in the shop also. You could play next to it. And you could really hear it too. Like,
right,
yeah, that was a bit of an eye opener, that one. I think I still have the crook, or did I give it back to you? I saved that as a memento, I think.
man, you can wipe
It
it.
was pretty weird, man.
Really, just don't want to do with that thing.
Bad energy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was funny. I mean, because I think that kind of feedback is what saved that instrument. And ultimately, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man.
Yeah, good point.
Trombone, like, I mean, I dug the music and I dug hanging out and having fun with people, but like every time I'd play, I just hear a fat hole in my sound, and I was wondering, why the heck is this hole here, and why can't I overcome it? And it was leaving like a little bit of a hole in my identity as a musician. And
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
no, I mean, but this is the kind of stuff we deal with sometimes as musicians, not even realizing what's going on, and yeah, I mean, by fixing that, I mean, I noticed initially like my sound was like huge, and my tone and my ability to play in tune was fixed. And then it became a matter, and it gave, it just gives new confidence to a musician to actually go forth and do what they need to.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. There's nothing worse than an instrument that's not working right. That can be really annoying. Yeah.
I mean, in that regard, I would argue you saved my freaking career in some regards just by.
Yeah, nice, dude. Oh no, you do that yourself, man. Don't worry.
No,
As in, you would have found your way eventually. I think at some point you would have been like, something's not right here. Get rid of this trombone. You would have. What happens for most people is that at some point, if the instrument maker part doesn't work out, the curiosity is still there. Something's not right, so you keep looking until you find another solution, right?
yeah.
So whether it's in the form of another instrument or whatnot, and so on, and yeah, I had a strange one like that also, like last week that finally came in. It was a bit strange. Guy brings in a tuba, fantastic instrument, beautiful. It's 40 years old, right? Completely original. One of the best tubas ever made, like just creme de la creme, the best one. So he left it there, needed some service work on the valves. The valves were getting a bit noisy. Okay, fine. So I played it before I started. I thought, it doesn't play as good as mine, but it's okay. It's not bad, right? But after I do the valve work, it'll be fine, right? Okay, fine. So, okay, fix everything. Go to play it again. Still not great. I'm like, something's not right here. Something's not right. Something's just not right. And fine. Just keep practicing on it. Keep practicing. You do a leak down test. Seems tight. Something's still not right. And then at some point I hear, when I take my mouthpiece out of the horn, I hear it goes click, like there's a broken solder joint. Okay. Twist a little bit more. And the receiver where you stick your bloody mouthpiece in, pops off. And I thought, maybe it's a broken solder joint. And I look, and it was never soldered. The guys at the factory, when they put the horn together, they just forgot to solder it. It happens, It's Friday, ready to go home. It's the end of the day. It's 40 years ago, he had a shit week. Hurry up. Or you leave it on the table and you say, we'll solder it next week, but you come back and, I forgot, I thought I soldered that already. Send it out for lacquering. And after it got lacquered, the lacquer actually kept it shut.
Oh.
But the last couple of years, the lacquer it's old, right? Lacquer starts to break away, starts to slowly leak. So owner comes and picks it up and he's like, it plays a lot better. I'm like, yeah, he says, it never played this well since I owned it. And it's like, he says, it seems to have been getting the last 10 years a bit worse and worse. And you're like, you poor guy, man, you've been playing it like this the whole time, It's really been like that for since it was new. And you can imagine if that was your only horn for like so many years, how frustrating that must have been at some point. So yeah, he just sent me a message. He's like, yeah, it's strangest thing is playing so much better. So, it's little things like that. Sometimes you can get lucky, and find those things. So, but yeah, just got lucky, if I hadn't sat there out of my own curiosity and just kept trying, but it was a nice tuba though. It's one of those ones where you expect it to really give a lot, so you're like, okay, what's the difference between this horn and my horn? And I had the basically an identical instrument to that one, so it was it's like having three bees next to each other, so you can really try them out. So but yeah, so that was that was an interesting experience. So like, wow, not something you see very often. Usually stuff made in Germany, when it's made here, it's like, wow, it's the quality is, like that nice trombone next to you. Usually the quality is really, really up there, man. So yeah. So
I also wanted to
yeah.
ask really quickly, not really quickly, but talk about your blog, man. I'm really digging what you're putting out with regard to your blog and
Ooh, okay.
how that's all
I
going.
mean, it's more like for tuba players, basically.
But still,
Yeah, it's basically a blog talking about vintage tubas. I know, really exciting, right? Yeah. Um, I used to be, I don't know, a long time ago when I was growing up, I used to really be into motorcycles. I did. It's like a huge hobby, like one of those things I liked as much as music, basically. And one thing I think my father had at home, but also like the shop that I was at, a workshop that I would go to, there was a rack of motorcycle magazines that they had there. And if you take I don't know if anyone even reads magazines anymore. Shit, I don't even go to see this, but you go to the back page, the last page of a magazine, right?
mm-hmm.
Like for a car magazine or a bicycle or a motorcycle magazine. There's always one page in the back that one of the journalists, he would just write a feature about some kind of old motorcycle, something historically interesting and something. And I remember thinking of a couple years ago, thinking, hey, how come we don't have a brass version of that, whether for trombone or tuba or trumpet? And because of the workshop, because I'm a tuba player myself, that's really where my real interest there is. So I thought, okay, fine, just start doing a blog about this and so on. And after a while, then you do this, people start. It's just meant to be some good fun. It's just light. It's not like really deep research or life changing things, but it's just a chance to show people what instruments are out there. Another side aspect is because also for people watching, we're both in East Germany here technically.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're in West Berlin. You also right in West Berlin, but yeah. Oh, you're in East. Okay. I'm in Schöneberg. So, but that doesn't matter. But basically, in the DDR time, there were a lot of tubas that were made specifically for DDR here, and they didn't travel out. They didn't go to like the US or anything like that. And some of these instruments are just technologically and I think acoustically just fantastic. And not many people know about them. A lot of them were custom one-offs. They were, I mean, back then you would take a project and you just got paid for it whether you did it or not. So the motivation wasn't money. It was more like, okay, let's show you how good a maker I am. Let's see how good this tuba, how good I can build this. So in your course of living here in the East, technically, you will start to come across these old instruments. And part of me is like, wow, how I feel so bad. I'm the only one who's seen this right now. Other people should see this. You will see some trombones also sometimes. Like, I don't know if they're even good instruments, but just to look at them, there was a maker or a few makers, I think, in the 1930s and up until the 50s. They would make trombones. You can ask folk about it when you talk to them. Maybe they can show you one. And they will make the bell not round, but they'll make it in the form of how do you say it, like an octagon or a hexagon. They will have like 6 sides, like a stop sign, or but on purpose, or like a 12 sides. And these things look just crazy. I mean, I don't know how they play. Probably acoustically, it's probably a bit strange, but just engineering-wise, how they made stuff like that was just crazy. So the whole point of the blog was to demonstrate some of these instruments, get people interested in older things like this, and it's just one of those hobby things when you have time. Quarantine time, right? It's time to like put that stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's a platform sometimes to throw some ideas out there for the tuba community who's interested and to go from there with it. So, but it's just a hobby on the side. So I like old stuff, so it's a natural extension of that.
Oh yeah, I think this is a perfect time to get into that stuff as well. I think it's and I think it's cool too, you know, the fact that, you know, you can really connect with communities and people that, you know, when you think about like the day to day, like hustle and bustle of things, like you talked about in the beginning of the interview when we started, it's just kind of, you know, you don't really get to this stuff because it's always, you know, there's just, okay, that isn't making me money. I need to make money today. Or, you know, or there's someone waiting on their, you know, for your instance, I'm sure, you know, I have a
Right.
deadline and I told this person I'd have it done by Wednesday. It's Monday. Let me get to it. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Um, and that kind of makes a difference. I mean, just the fact that, you know, you can take time now to do that, I think is amazing. And
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, I mean, this is part of why this exists too, you know, like,
Yes. It's a good reminder, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And
what's important. What's important to you? You know, what's here? What do you really want to do? You know, how? What do you feel like? Okay, we only live so long, right? We're on this planet for only so much time. When it's all said and done, how did you want to use that time?
right. Definitely,
Right?
definitely.
You know.
And yeah, you know, it is what it is. You know, I think everybody is
Hmm.
kind of figuring it out themselves right now, what it is they're going to do, or what it is they're about. And
Right.
like I was kind of saying, you know, you take away the gigs and the hustle and bustle of things, and what are you left with? And yeah, I I think a lot of people, what I noticed in the musical community is a lot of people are actually cool. I've only come across a handful of people so far who are really, you know, really not having a good time.
Hmm.
And I've come across a lot of people too who are just taking this time to really self-reflect and don't have an answer to that, you know. But
Right.
I think I'm seeing more and more. It's just incredible. The amount of, yeah, the amount of just kind of creative energy that's coming out of this time.
Yes. If it wasn't for the fact so many people were getting sick and dying, it would actually be kind of a beautiful moment. It's almost a shame it requires a pandemic to make people self-reflect. I find it had to come to that, you know. Yeah.
Totally. I think you know, I've come to terms with it though. I'm okay with the fact that this is going on. I feel like that's, you know, every day it's a little different, but you know, as a whole, I've accepted that this is, you know, doesn't matter, you know, whatever your religion is or whatever the heck, you know, you want to think about in that regard.
Mhm.
It's, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that the universe, in some ways, I feel like is going to take its course on this one, and we just don't know. And
Exactly.
but yeah, we talked about a lot, and I kind of want to ask you now,
Mhm.
kind of jump into the last question on that list. Preparation, you know,
Mhm.
a lot of people, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of toilet paper. Some people have just enough toilet paper. Some people are just cool with the one roll hang, you know, just
Yep.
roll up to Wava, get the one roll and piece it. But yeah, you don't find my jokes funny. It's all good.
I
Um,
like it, dude. I'm laughing the word. I'm laughing.
yeah. I think, yeah, that, yeah. Anyway, aw,
Sorry, someone's trying to say hi here. Yeah.
keep that cat up there, man. It's gonna
The
get
only thing I hoarded was cat food. I want to make sure. I mean, because he's so thin and starving, as you can see here. You know.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, also this cat right here, we need this viewer count to go way up, and I'm allergic to cats, so it's good to
Okay.
have it on the other side of
Oh,
the.
I'm so sorry for you, man. You need a short hair. Those ones, you'll be fine.
Get a hairless cat. That'll be
That's cool, man. Ugly as hell, but they're nice cats too.
yeah, they need more warmth.
Oh, more cat hugs. I like.
But
You a good boy, yeah? Go ahead.
talked about that. We talked about that. I guess yeah. What else is? I mean, but like in terms of preparing, like for this time,
Right.
I guess what else have you done, or what steps do you think you need to take going forward?
Hmm. You mean like literal survival ones? Like, do I need to get an M80 rifle in the front yard here and like sandbag the house, or like
I don't
I
know.
mean that yeah, okay. I mean my thought of it is like if things are really so bad that there really is no toilet paper. By the way, where did this toilet paper thing come from? Like, can I I'm sorry, I want to keep this PG, but are people shitting differently? Like, did something happen here? Like,
It's all good. This isn't for
If
kids.
you don't have toilet paper, then like, okay, there's always a solution. Why the panic over that? Like, I can understand people like storing food. Like for a long time here, you couldn't buy flour, yeast, those kind of things. But the toilet paper, what is that? Like, I've never heard of that before. That for me was really bizarre.
I mean,
I don't get that one.
a worldwide thing too. I mean, it's even
I know, right? You hear from the States, people are getting into fist fights over rolls of toilet paper. In UK also, like yeah. I that one blew my mind. Sorry. No, but for myself, though, in terms of things, I don't know. If things are really that bad, I don't think there's much like I can do. I think I'm just going to keep enjoying the time, keep working on my projects that are meaningful to me, help out the customers who need help with their stuff. You know, if they, there's one thing I felt kind of bad about, like when the pandemic first starts breaking and everyone's locked up at home. We had a few like elderly customers. I'm talking about like 80s, 90s, a few of those guys, and they really wanted to pick up their instruments. I'm just like, dude, no way. Like, there's no way you're coming out across the city to come get this or from wherever. I ended up delivering for them, like take it to their place, like sterilize the entire instrument, wipe it down, put it in a plastic bag, in the gig bag, another bag around it, in the car, and drive. And we did that for a few of them, but I was a bit like, wow, I feel like they didn't grasp the seriousness of the situation. As in, if it was someone who like in their 30s or 40s asking me this, I'd be like, okay, fine, all right. But it's like an elderly man who's also quite ill, and it's just like, wow. And he has another instrument at home that's identical, and you're like, do you really need it right now? Like, I was a bit worried for him, So that was a bit odd, I thought. Like that panic set, that irrational panic sets, and I need my instrument. And the irony is, he started practicing at home, and the wife got pissed, super pissed at him. Like, stop playing there. He went on the balcony. He was playing tuba on the balcony to his neighbors, and usually people are pretty well meant about this, but he was like, yeah, everyone told me to stop playing. Like, I felt so offended. So yeah, I don't think people want to hear tuba on their balcony, so I don't know. So maybe he didn't play so well. I don't know. You can ask him. But apparently the wife got pretty pissed off though. But in terms of preparation, I don't know, man. You know what? I just thought, out of just that 1% of like doubt, I bought this huge thing of pasta, and it's sitting there, and I'm slowly eating through it, watching it go down. And it's like, why did I do that? Like, yeah, if things are really that bad, I think we have more serious things to worry about. So I don't know. I'm just taking a day at a time. I think what I would personally like to do now is something I did not take advantage of in the quarantine as much as I want to start getting more back into the physical fitness stuff.
Yeah.
And slowly getting back to running. The bike has been amazing. But it's just like, wow, it's like, okay, let's really do this, like, okay, what are the options and so on. And, that I really want to definitely get more into.
Totally,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
we can talk more about this off camera. I would love to talk more about this with you.
Okay, man.
I think physical fitness, not just physical fitness, I think it adds mental fitness. I'll just throw that.
Agreed.
Something about just sweating, and also just moving your body and getting that actually kind of brings out an emotion. It kind of shifts things mentally as well. But as I do with, I'm going to wrap things up. But as I do with all the guests, I shower them with compliments at the end.
Which you yourself say you don't like it when people do that. So you're doing it to us, huh? Yeah, I see where this is, right? Okay, fine.
I mean, like I say, it's just a matter of, I don't know. I think there's a time and a place to give them. And I think there's a way to do it. And I think it has to be from a heartfelt place. It can't be at all given with sarcasm. They have to be given with the utmost consideration and honesty. But
all right, fair enough.
If you're just giving a compliment just to like, oh, that's a nice, oh, that's a nice scarf. It's like, are you just trying to talk to me, or like, what's the deal? Like, unless you find the scarf actually dope, like, please.
Maybe she's hitting on you. That's a nice scarf, Baron. Yeah.
And that's another
option. Like that. Come here, Baron. Come here.
Yeah, you don't see that too often. Well, Berlin's an interesting place, but going back to you, Jake, I'm just gonna say, man, I If there's anything I love about you, man, it is just your spirit, man. You have this real just
Oh,
it's heartfelt, it's loving, and additionally within that too, what I see from you is there is just a drive and a determination match that's kind of based in this natural sense of curiosity, as you mentioned before, to get the answer right, and to do right by the people who come into, I think specifically about your customers, like, you really, I feel like, go out of your way to make sure that, each customer gets what they need. Additionally too, I think, from what I know about your personal life and from what I know about, what you're doing, and everything else, it's just a real consideration and a thoughtfulness that comes through. And I would say that's, kind of based in a place, out of a place of love and and a place of just caring for your fellow human, and
oh, thanks,
as well
man.
as your fellow cat.
Appreciate it, dude. Same to you, brother.
And
Oh, for the cats, anything for them, of course.
and I think truth is, man, it's just great to have you in my life, man. It's been a blessing in disguise. I know when
Oh,
I asked about horn repair, or I asked about some getting some work done on my trombone, and you know, your name came up. And since I was like, oh wow, okay. And it's just been, yeah, just been great knowing you, man. And
oh, peace, man. Same, same.
yeah, I think that's a good place to stop it. So I'm going to stop it.